is an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering The Dark Tower, Book 7, The Dark Tower, Part 5, Chapter 1, The Scarlet Field of Kanka-no-Rei, The Sore and the Door. Goodbye, my dear. In this chapter, even the names of the chapter have too many sections. Welcome to Unspoiled.
I love how that's your biggest takeaway. By the way, this is not a proper way to name a chapter.
I mean, it really does feel like a giant giveaway, right?
Well, yeah, especially because, like, The Sore on the Door is such a good name. Like, if you just left it there, that would be a great name for the chapter, wouldn't it?
I even hesitate The Door, because I feel like that still gives too much away. But, okay. I mean, it would at least be better than Goodbye, My Dear, because I don't get why that's included at all.
I mean, yeah, he really doesn't want to surprise you with this, it seems like.
Hi, everyone, I'm Natasha.
Hi, I'm Miles.
And we're going to complain before we've even introduced ourselves. How's it going?
How you guys doing? If Stephen King were introing us, he would be like, It was some days before then that Miles began to complain about the book chapter title, which followed Natasha's initial complaint, but that came later.
Yeah, so this chapter, let's just do like an overall impression of this chapter.
Let's do it. I do like the way it was written. It's a very well written chapter.
Okay, give me an example.
Whoa,
what's something? In what part do you have anything highlighted? Anything that comes to mind? A turn of phrase?
The very end is probably the first thing. The very end of the chapter after she's gone.
Okay.
I think is really good. There's okay. I want to say this about this chapter. I have a lot of problems with how this goes down.
Okay.
I have a lot of problems with what's happening and the way the story is turning and everything. But, there were a lot of individual decisions, little decisions made over the course of the chapter that I really enjoyed. The fact that Roland is still so convinced in his heart. First of all, Susannah, realizing at the end, what we've all known, but, really articulating it really well. Death but not for you, right? Everybody else is going to die, but never you. Mm-hmm. And then, I really enjoyed the last appearance there of Detta Walker when Susannah just let her have the body for a few minutes. That was really fun. And I really loved Roland at the last minute before she leaves saying wait because he realized that she actually is going to leave.
Yeah, it's like he thought she was fucking with him or something at first.
Yeah, he puts on this really brave, stoic, Roland front. But at the end, he's like, wait a minute, you're actually going? No! Yeah,
I agree. I did like that one moment.
There's a lot of things about this that I like. And there's a lot of things that I don't, but...
Yeah, I have, really mixed feelings on this chapter. And I don't think a lot of them are, entirely even formulated yet. So I'm going to be working through some of this, in real time.
That's fine. Let's go through
I read this chapter yesterday, and I've been thinking about it. So you'd think that I would kind of have a handle on this more. One of the things that I really like a lot is the fact that before, leading up to this, Susannah's really dealing with the grief of knowing that she's going to be leaving. Which strikes me as a really real thing. And the fact that, Roland probably knows that she is dealing with that, but isn't commenting on it, just kind of trying to let her have her space.
He's been actively distancing himself from her.
Yeah.
Like, she points out that he has been just a little more closed off than he normally would be. And part of that, I'm sure, is, like, the fact that they're so close to the tower, which clearly has an effect on him. But part of it is also, like, he doesn't want to deal with the fact that they both know she's leaving.
Right. Yeah, I think it's also some really nice character development for Roland. Mm-hmm. With him, you know, struggling the way that he has with losing everybody when, you know, a few books ago, he really did not care. And the most kind of guilt that we got out of him was the guilt over the fact that he knew he should care more.
Yeah.
Which is really something.
It's interesting because, you know, Roland's kind of revelation at the end, in the sense that he has one, is that, like, you know, I would never have had this pain if I didn't let people back into my life and fall in love with them in my own way. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't change the fact that I'm really happy I did it. Like, it was totally worth it, right?
Right.
Now, this is, like, a really common thing in fiction, and it's kind of something that, like, it's almost not even in fiction. It's like a proverb, right? Like, it's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. Like, this is kind of a thing that people know, or at least, like, a thing they know they're supposed to believe, even if they don't.
Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, man.
Sure. Great movie. Oh. But with Roland, it actually does feel like a revelation. Like, it feels like he alone, maybe, still had to learn that. You know?
Yeah, he doesn't develop emotional connections to people.
No.
So, it is totally new to him. And that's something I can really relate to. Because, it's sort of a weird thing that, like, I get very emotional about some things. And yet, connecting to people has always been real hard for me. And this feeling that he has of, like, knowing it should matter initially and not mattering, and this, like, kind of self-judgment about it of just being like, wow, what does that say about me? Probably I'm fucked up. Oh, yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Like, I was part of this retreat when I was in my very early 20s. And I was close friends with one girl out of, like, the 12 people that were part of this retreat. And this girl that I was friends with was the kind of person that did make friends really easily and was close, and I put close in quotes because obviously her idea of close wasn't the same as mine, but it wasn't false. So I don't want to make it sound like close, but she was total, like, fraud.
Right.
No, she was just very different in the way that she handled friendships. So she was close with a lot of people. And she came to visit me one time after the retreat was over. And she was like, so, have you talked to anybody? And I was like, no. And she's like, really? You haven't talked to Max or Sunny or anybody? And I was like, no, I just wanted to hang out with you. She's like, you don't want to know what they're up to? And I'm like, no. Why would I care what they're up to? Like, I really did not give a shit. And I remember her, like, looking at me in that moment like she really did not know who I was. And from there, we really didn't talk again, which was a shame because I really did like her.
Yeah.
But that's how I pick one person that I feel like I connect with in a real way, and I put most of my energy into that one relationship. And the others feel really alien to me. And with Roland, it's like, he didn't even have that one relationship out. Like, I feel like Susan was the one. And even that is a hard thing to, because it was such a short-lived thing. Yeah. That it's hard for me to even, like, really give that the credit. But it does seem like that's all he had to give for a long time.
I mean, Susan in the tower, right? Like, yeah. I mean, that is the relationship. Like, the tower is, you know, despite all the learning he's doing, the tower is still the relationship. I mean, you know, Susannah's leaving, and, like, we'll talk about this, I'm sure, but Susannah found a fucking magical, like, get me anywhere key. Mm-hmm. and, like, used it to peace out because she knew that getting to see the tower wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
And he's still, he's still going after it. Like, that's still the most important thing. He's still willing to sacrifice the people who are with him to get to the tower.
Yeah, so okay, so let's back up a little bit here.
Let's talk about some of this stuff.
Because it starts with them getting dropped off by Bill, and I posted this. The entry of the actual show notes of the last episode. It did not work, however, because I posted in there, guys, I know what I missed. Here it is. This is what I missed. Don't message me. Don't do it. Still got a message.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did. Nice. And I screenshotted the show notes and sent it to him and was like, you monster. But yeah, Stuttering Bill robot is obviously a reference to Stuttering Bill Denbrough from It.
Yes.
And so the fact that this creature was probably related to It is underlined there. Like, either it's the same creature, which I don't think is true, or it's probably, like, the spawn of that creature, which I think is more likely.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, that's actually not the worst thing that either of us failed to say last week.
What's that?
Because if you recall, I got really excited last week before the show about how we were recording on the 19th anniversary of King getting hit by the car.
Oh, right.
And then I completely forgot to mention it.
Yeah, I forgot about that one.
Yeah. Anyway. So yeah, Stuttering Bill drops them off and basically says to him, like, hey, so we're pretty close. I can't go any further because this is kind of the last outpost, like, before the Dark Tower. Mm-hmm. But we've got a bunch of cars here, and you could probably get there, like, tomorrow.
Yeah, which, I kind of wanted them to do, because as we know, them pulling up to the tower in go-karts is my jam. But
I wanted them to do it because it makes sense, and I don't know. I feel like if there were the kind of person who would understand this whole, like, I'm not ready to make it there yet, let's just walk and take 5 days instead of 1, I feel like that might be you, but I'm not sure, because I really don't relate to it that much.
Why would that be me?
I don't know. It felt more you than me. I don't know why.
I don't know what to say to that. I don't even know what that means. What are you saying about me, Miles? That I like extra effort for no reason? Does that sound like me?
I meant more like the feeling of, like, needing the time,
I guess.
I don't know. Maybe it's not. Tell me I'm wrong.
Oh my God. I'm like thinking about how I'm the person that will risk breaking her neck by falling down the stairs by carrying all 8 of my grocery bags just so that I can make 1 trip instead of a much safer, probably easier 2 trips. So this doesn't feel at all right to me.
So you're very much in the same camp as me. It's like, wait, what are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, like, the only reason that I could ever see feeling this way is if the walk to the tower is like a luxury hotel dotted beach, like, resort community, and you just want to, like, make the most of it on your way. It has been nothing but, like, heartbreak and suffering.
Yeah.
No, get that shit done, guys.
Yeah, no, I don't, there's just so, and again, I think it's just made worse by the fact that there's so much of a lack, like a deliberate lack of explanation. They're just like, we just feel this is right. I'm like, ugh. There's one point in this book where Susannah, like, feels Roland's, like, facial hair, and it's just, like, casually mentioned that his beard never grows out past a certain length, which is fine, but, like, it's that easy, Steven, to explain something. You put a fucking parenthetical in there. Do something.
Wait, what is the parent... Remind me, I don't remember this moment.
Oh yeah, she's like, she puts her hands on his face, and it's noted that Roland's like, here it is. She placed her hands on his stubbly cheeks. He never seemed to grow an actual beard, only a bristly scruff.
Okay.
So
what you're saying is he didn't explain it, and that's fine. Because that's not an explanation.
Well, that's true. I mean, it is in that, like, I don't know, some dudes just don't. I guess it's easy for me to accept that. Because, like, I know that some people just don't grow beards past a certain length. Like, I know people who that's true for. So, I guess that was a little bit easier. Like, oh, that's why he only has stubble, because his beard doesn't grow. You know?
Okay.
But anyway, the point is that the whole, like, we need to walk instead of drive thing. And, like, there's the great moment where they're telling Stuttering Bill, or just Bill now, I guess, like, hey, if you see Mordred, like, blow the horn and let us know.
Oh, yeah.
And Bill's like, you know, if you drive, you would just be there.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't have to deal with him.
And they're like, I mean, we could do that. Or we could rely on a sound from miles and miles away to warn us that something has already happened. But, you know, whatever.
There's, before I forget, I want to mention one very little thing that I take slight issue with in this part of the chapter, the beginning here. When they're driving up to the station, they're listening to CDs. And, part of it is Susannah being introduced for the first time to the Beatles. Mm-hmm. A band that she's never heard of.
Oh, here you go.
And we played, she hears two songs, Hey Jude, and, She Loves You.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I was curious about this, so I looked it up. Because something about this smelled fishy to me. So Susannah was snatched away in 1964, right? So, first of all, the phenomenon, like, she would have had to have been snatched really early in 1964 to even have a chance of missing out on the Beatles. Because it was like January, February when Beatlemania came to the States. So, it would have had to be like New Year's, and I don't think it was based on the descriptions of like what was going on outside when we were in there. Second of all, She Loves You, of all songs, is one of their... It was, like, their first big single, remains their biggest song of all time, was one of the songs that, in April of 1964, the Beatles broke a record by having, like, I think it was 4 songs in the top 10 at the same time, and that was April 4th, 1964. She Loves You was one of those songs. And that song was originally released in 1963. I'm not sure I buy that Susannah has just straight up never heard of the Beatles. Come at me!
Do you know how nerdy you sound right now?
Come at me, Internet!
You are such a dork. Holy shit. Listen, I'm just gonna, like, move right on past this. Because, sir, this is the least of my worries.
It's some bullshit. Do some research, King.
I just can't. I can't do it. God, somebody. I'm just going to go dig my own grave.
So sorry, was there something else that you thought was important to talk about?
Oh, God. Alright, so let's see. I'm reading the funny name for a rock and roll band, and she says, that's a funny name, like, to herself, right? Like, it seems, because it says that she said it, but then he shares with her, like, him being Patrick, it's spelled this way, not this way.
Yeah, she says it out loud, but it's clear that she's thinking of it like they named themselves after the insect.
Right. Which
I guess is what he sees in her head, which... I don't really know why it was necessary to have him have the touch. It doesn't seem like... I mean, I'm just going forward to the part where he draws the door, and it's not like they're like he's reading it out of their head. They're just describing it, right?
Yeah, and it's weird to me that, like, of course he would assume she's spelling it mentally the way that the word is spelled. That doesn't take the touch. There's one way to spell the actual word, and that's not really such a leap and does not require the touch because she said it out loud.
Also, how the fuck does he know who they are? If he's been locked up with this clown since he was like 4, which is what Susannah implies, he knows who the Beatles are, but she doesn't?
I got nothing on that one. I don't know.
Anyway.
I'm not even going to try.
All right.
That one, just listen. Don't. No. But I just really, like, that confused me because I went and reread it and I'm like, it says that she said it out loud. What? But anyway, so. They get to the spot that they like stop at has a bunch of television screens.
Yeah.
And one of them is just a bunch of squiggly lines. And Bill, the robot, is like, yeah, I'm pretty sure the Red King short-circuited that one because he doesn't like being on television.
He's shy.
And I really love, like, his... How about you, Patrick? Do you want some soup? You want a sandwich? Do you want some cookies? You gotta eat up your skin and bones!
He's a super nice robot.
Yeah, he's really concerned, and it's adorable, and I'm going to miss him, because every quartet needs a mommy, and Bill is the mommy.
That's fair. That's fair.
So I'm gonna, I'm just bummed that he winds up being out of things.
Yeah, Susannah is too, and she gives him a big hug as they leave. Mm-hmm. And he says, "I'm not entirely without emotions." So he's a great robot, Bill. Like the guy they met, what was it, Nigel? Was it Nigel? The one that Susannah, like, she shot his eyes out when the birth was happening.
Nigel. Yeah.
He was kind of neutral. Like, he was kind of a dick, but you felt for him a little bit. Mm-hmm. And Andy was obviously the fucking worst. And like Bill is like, we've come full circle to, this is what robots are supposed to be when they're not dicks.
Right.
Like, they're supposed to be happy robot people who hope that they're going to meet you in heaven.
Okay, so here's another thing. Why does Roland want Susannah's input about whether to take the carts or not when they both know she's not going to the tower? And why is she even... Because it says... When he says, no more than 120 wheels from here, Susannah felt a great and fluttering lift drop in her stomach. 120 wheels was 100 miles, perhaps even a bit less. They were close. So close it was scary.
So, I think here's what I'm pretty sure is happening. Because King is doing the thing that he does where at the beginning he's telling you what happens later. Right? Because it says, like, the thing about how she's starting to cry and, like, people know what's happening, like, Roland starts to know why she's crying,
mm-hmm.
It is explicitly referenced as being in the final days of their journey. So what I think is happening is that Susannah doesn't start to get this feeling that she's not going to make it to the tower until that first night when she has that dream, the first dream.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm pretty sure is going on. So he wants her input because at the time they're not having that sense that she's going to be gone. Like when Bill says it's 120 wheels to the Dark Tower, she's like excited in a way, right?
I mean, she says so close it was scary. I don't know. And then she thinks, I'm not ready. Oh, no, it's right here. I'm not ready. I'm not meant to go at all. Not all the way. And it's right here. I'm looking, I'm on the Kindle version, so I will not be able to give you a page number. But,
so I think she's starting to know now, but Roland doesn't yet. Because she definitely doesn't start crying regularly until after this.
No, the chapter starts off with her talking about that.
Yeah, but it starts off saying in the final days of their long journey.
Oh, after Bill dropped
yeah.
him off. Okay, I got you. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So she hasn't started crying yet, but she starts getting this feeling of, he's not meant to go either, referring to Patrick. Not him, not Oi, not me, but what is to become of us then?
Right. Okay.
And then that night she has the first of her new series of dreams, which is when she becomes positive, because that first dream is them giving her the hot chocolate again and showing her the door that has the artist written on it. Eddie and Jake, this is.
Right.
And then she hears the 4 whispered words, time's up, or time's almost up, hurry. So that's the first dream, and that's the one where she wakes thinking she has to leave, and she has to leave before she gets to the tower.
Okay, gotcha.
So what do you think about this?
Her not being supposed to go?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really, it's hard for me to make a judgment on this until we get to the end, and I know if there's some, real reasoning behind this. But like I said, I have felt this whole book, King decided at the beginning that Roland needed to make the final journey on his own, but he didn't want to kill anybody off and was sort of intending, if he could, to get them all there together. And then this last book, he suddenly was like, no, it's not going to work. He does need to go alone. And he just started to indiscriminately get rid of them. And so Susannah, it's it feels really perfunctory. Well, I need to get her gone, and I've killed the other 2. I can't kill her too, because that's not only going to lose its punch after the 3rd time, but is kind of predictable.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do this other weird thing where she just leaves for no apparent reason besides having a dream that told her she should. So it feels really contrived to me. And this is the thing about this final book. It just feels like I am seeing all of the wheels. The story should not be like this. You shouldn't constantly be aware of the author. And there are so many weird little instances that don't make 100% sense in this book that you can't help but stop and go, wait, what did King want here? How am I supposed to be reading this? How was I supposed to interpret that? And it gets really tiring and slows everything down. And that's all I feel like this is here, is that he needed her gone, and he came up with a strange and kind of inelegant way to do it.
It's pretty hand-wavy.
They're we're going to come across a guy locked up with powers to just create shit.
Well, okay, so I want to talk about this. I have a question for you. Mm-hmm. Do you still think that Eddie's not dead?
Oh, I don't think him or Jake are dead.
You think they're both alive?
I've decided. Yeah, okay. Wherever she's going, that's what they're going to be there.
But she specifies this is some different Earth. Do you think it's going to be? Do you think the versions of them that we knew were dead?
Probably.
Okay.
That's a big question.
Yeah.
Because then you get into, does the same soul in a different body count as the same version?
Right. Well, fair enough.
Yes. I think so. Really, my answer to the last question is Jake really dead? Yes, he's really dead. But I do think that wherever she's going, they're there.
Right. Okay. So I just wanted to update us on that. But the other thing that I wanted to do is ask this, which is, so let's say this entire book goes the exact same way it otherwise does.
Okay.
Only he doesn't kill Eddie. Let's just say Eddie doesn't get shot, Jake dies, everything else happens the same way, right? Mm-hmm. With Eddie, what you have is an established character with an established power to make things happen because of arts and crafts.
When does that happen?
When he carves his carvings.
Oh, yeah, I forgot all about that.
You forgot all about it because it never fucking comes up again, and it's so weird.
Yeah.
But, he makes the key, Eddie being an artist is a magic thing. It's his magic thing. So you wouldn't need Patrick, because you could have used Eddie to do that, and you would have a legitimate reason for both Eddie and Susannah to leave, because they could look at each other and go like, hey, we're on the last leg here. It's time for us to decide if we want to finish this out and probably die together or go live a life together. Wouldn't that make sense as, like, a reason to maybe leave at this point?
Yeah, that feels like it makes a lot more sense, sir.
This is just the chapter that made me the most pissed off that he got rid of Eddie.
So we've got two instances, this and the previous, deal with Dandello, where having Eddie there would have made, way more sense.
Yeah.
And... yeah, and
so
his
weird.
death just wasn't worthwhile. The fact that I'm willing to be I think he's probably dead. How little impact has that had on me? His death, that I straight up didn't believe it, and we've gone this far, and it's basically no, yeah, he's dead, and yet I don't care, because when it first happened, I just totally didn't buy it. So even once the reality of it is supposed to be setting in, I'm already bored. So what a waste, man. He deserved better than that.
I have another question. Do you feel like Susannah's character changed significantly for his dying?
No.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. I didn't either.
Yeah, that's actually something that I have been really waiting for a little bit more, was her grief to come to the surface more, and I just, as somebody who has suffered a loss of my father, who wasn't even really as close to as some people are to their parents, and she was so in love with Eddie that I really expected that to come up more, to be honest. And the fact that we really only see her sneaking away to cry because she's not going to be going to the end, and this wasn't happening before when she was just dealing with his death, having happened really recently, is... I don't know. I have a hard time sometimes with the way that King, writes women specifically, because I feel like he doesn't get some things, but this shouldn't even be a woman thing. This should just be a grief thing.
It should be a person thing, and that's what I think.
Yeah.
I think he's really getting wrapped up in the symbolism and kind of the deep meanings of everything, and he's, again, the characters are suffering for it. But yeah, I was reading this book, and I was thinking a couple of things. First of all, I was thinking of the way this book ends, and I was asking myself what you were going to think about it, and then questioning again what I thought about it, and kind of turning that over my head. But secondly, I was just yeah, this is there's no reason why Eddie shouldn't be here playing the role of Patrick Danville, who is in love with her and drawing her in this really beautiful way, which is something Eddie could totally do. Even if you don't want to if you don't want to say he's good at drawing, that's fine. He can still do the carving thing. They've got plenty of wood. It's this would be easy, and I don't think the symbolism of everything being a version of the word draw is a good enough reason to not do that.
A version of the word draw?
Yeah.
Where's that?
She, what is it? It's when she's...
Oh, from the dream?
No, it's when she realizes what Patrick can do. To draw is to make a picture with a pencil, or maybe charcoal. To draw is also to fascinate, to compel, and to bring forward, to bring out of oneself.
Right.
The drawers were where Detta went to fulfill herself. And it's okay, that's great, but I would have gotten rid of that in favor of Eddie carving, you know? And it makes me really sad, because I think that if Eddie had still been here, this would have been even more of a powerful moment than it is, and I think it's a really powerful and affecting chapter. But without Eddie, it's it feels arbitrary, and it feels like, Patrick just got thrown in,
Yeah, that's my main problem with it, is, like, not only did Eddie deserve better, but having another idiot savant, as he calls it, and having that be something that he actually references, really, like, that feels like such a crutch now. For him to just bring in somebody with powers who's also, like, super kind-hearted and non-threatening.
Right.
It just... And what's killing me about this in particular is that I still think Roland's getting to the end alone. So Patrick either has to die or also has to leave. And why bring this kid in? We've only got like 3 more chapters here. Why do this for just the very end of this? Like, it feels almost, what's the word I want? Not quite insensitive, but just kind of like rude to have this enormous journey that took 7 books and seemingly be insisting that he has to finish on his own, and yet then bring in a total stranger.
It's the same feeling, for me, it's the same feeling that you get when Walter gets killed off. It's like, wow, that feels just like disrespectful to your own work.
Yeah,
like,
disrespectful. That is the word that I was looking for.
Yeah. And it's like, it kills me, because I was reading it again today, and it's like, oh, he makes a door. Eddie made a door! Mm-hmm. I don't get why, if this was your plan, then keep Eddie alive. If this wasn't your plan and this was just what happened, then go back and rewrite it at this point.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, right? Like, there's so many moments that I think we both, like, it's not like we've studied these, but like, this was our first read through.
Yeah.
And we're both like, what are you doing? So, and it's, while I had problems with the last book, most of my problems are in this book.
Yeah.
And so it's not like, he had something out already and he couldn't really go back and fix it. And you're looking at this book going, oh man, I bet you wish you hadn't done that back then. No, it's the same book. There's not a good reason why he can't have changed things and come to his senses a little bit. And who the fuck was reading this and being like, oh yeah, this all makes sense. Like, and I'm not saying all this just to be a dick. Like, I genuinely don't really understand what happened here.
No.
And if there was a way for me to have a conversation with King where he didn't get his feelings hurt, and I could ask him this.
Yeah.
Just be like, what were you thinking?
What were you thinking?
Holy shit. Because there's not really a way for me to say it other than that.
Like, people say shit like, whatever, like, Harry Potter should have gotten together with Hermione instead of Ron or whatever, right? It's like, and I know Rowling said that too or something like that. Those kind of things are, like, kind of personal preference. Like, I think the story would have worked better for me if it had gone a certain way, but even though it didn't, it's still a good story. With this, it feels like a creative decision that really has implications. And I'm not going to say it ruins the series, but, like, choosing to kill Eddie at that moment and not having him be here for this stuff and having to bring in Patrick really takes the wind out of this book's sails in a big way. And I think, and the series as a whole. Mm-hmm. I think it goes a long way toward not making this book as good as I think it should be.
All right,
that's my Eddie rant. I miss him.
We've made our points.
Yep. Let's talk about Patrick, though, and the fact that he can draw shit into being and erase it. And
that apparently Dandello knew that, and that's why he cut the erasers off of all the pencils, which is hilarious.
So good.
And I'm really curious, because I guess that's the explanation, because she has him erase the sore from her face. Right. And that's the first thing that she has him do, and senses that, the tingling of him just drawing her overall actually meant something. So he does that, and she realizes right after that he doesn't remember it even being there.
Yeah.
So he doesn't remember... He doesn't seem to be aware of his own ability. Right?
Because he erased it from his own memory, too.
Right. So, because I was thinking to myself, if he can do that, even if he can't erase Dandello, he could definitely draw a trapdoor in his prison and get out, right?
I mean, I would think so.
So, he just doesn't do that because he isn't aware that he can do that. Is kind of like the circular logic here.
It seems
right?
like he... Like, his normal instinct is to draw what he sees. Because, like, Susannah has to, like, prod him to draw something that's not in his field of vision, right? Like, when she asks him to draw the door, she's like, I want you to draw something that's not actually here.
Okay.
So I think that, you know, he had to kind of be... If he really was that young when Dandello got him, then that makes sense to me a little bit. You know? If he was really 4, you know, I guess. Although, like, 4-year-olds have plenty of imagination, so maybe not.
Yeah. All of a sudden there's a fucking dragon in the basement.
I love it, because they mentioned, like, oh, Dandello must have let him draw occasionally. Cool. So,
right?
All of a sudden there was a UFO fighting a bunch of cowboys.
Yeah. That would be rad.
I do really love the bit with the buffalo in this.
Yes, I like that too.
Very subtle foreshadowing there where, like, she's like, holy shit, Patrick sees better than I do. And he sees the buffalo better, and he's drawing them. And then she's like, oh, no, I guess my vision's a little bit... It's fine, I can see him now. You know, just very, very subtly done.
Yeah.
But yeah, Patrick has the power to make what he draws happen, and he erases Susannah's sore. And then Susannah, who has seen the shape of the door in her dream, and like Eddie and Jake in her dreams have been increasingly worried that she's not fucking getting this, which... I don't know. I would like to think I would deserve some patience for not immediately jumping to the conclusion.
Yeah, this is another instance of just like, well, you could just tell her, because, you know, you talk to her in the dream, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, she's like, oh god, how did I not see it before? He could warp reality with a pencil. It's so obvious.
Duh. How did you not see that? God.
So she gets him to draw the unfound door, which shows up. Roland wakes up during this process and helps her out by... What's the detail he adds?
What is it? Shit. It's not the doorknob, right?
No, it's
Shit.
Oh, it's the context, right? It's the surrounding scenario.
Oh, to put everything around it.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
That's right. So yeah, which is a good idea, and the door appears, and I think that, like, this scene of her leaving is, like, it makes the chapter for me. I'm curious as to what you think about both Patrick and Oi deciding to stay.
I kind of get... Like, Patrick, I don't feel like completely comprehends what's going on here.
No.
So the fact that he doesn't decide to leave is really understandable to me. And with Oi, I almost feel like... And it's hard to know just how much Oi understands, but I feel like he would be sort of like, Jake died for this. I'm not just going to leave.
Right. And,
you know?
Yeah, and it's possible he still has instructions as well. So.
And that's like that moment where she says Jake and he says Ake. Like, he barely remembers Jake. But then that's the thing that makes him stop and turn around and go back to Roland. That's really what it feels like to me, is that he was going to come with her because he really just wants to. But her saying Jake's name reminded him that he, like, either made a promise or he has a duty of some kind, or, you know...
Right.
There's an obligation of some kind there.
Jake wouldn't want him, for whatever reason, to leave Roland behind.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I can see that. I think that's a good explanation. Patrick, who cares? I don't...
Right, yeah. I don't... He's just such a tough read. That... And he's so new, it's just kind of like, whatever, do what you want. Fine.
Yeah, like I said, I love the scene. I love that that he's like, no, I don't want to talk to her. Put me on with the other one.
Yeah.
And I do like when Oi stays with Roland, she says, you have your own glamour, don't you? Always did. You drew Eddie onto one death and Jake to a pair of them. Now Patrick and even the Bumbler. Are you happy? He's like, no.
I like that she just got at him a little bit with that.
Yeah, I like that too.
You know?
She's really like, she's not holding anything back.
She's kind of had it.
Yeah, she's done.
Yeah.
And like, it's weird because it's simultaneously the book kind of hammers at you, or the chapter kind of hammers at you with like, she knows she's leaving. She knows she's leaving. The decision's been made. She knows she's leaving. But like, there's also not a sense where she really like lays out her thinking, or even if she has any. She's just like, you know what? If I could like open a magic door right now and leave instead of seeing the tower, I would do it. Mm-hmm. So, and I really like that. I like that that's just, you know, that's the crux of her decision, is that I would leave if I could. Because that's kind of what they've spent their entire time wondering, isn't it? Like whether they would back out if there was an option. Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
So then, where do you think she ended up?
Oh, God. I don't know. And I hate feeling like this, but I just don't care. I'm trying to be as honest as I can without sounding like a petulant brat. But I'm just so frustrated at this point with so much that I know what kind of kills me is that King could do literally anything he wants because there's no rhyme or reason to anything. Mm-hmm. It feels like that I can't even formulate a maybe this or maybe that. I want her to wind up in Central Park on that night and Jake and Eddie are there with hot chocolate for her. I want the dream to be where she winds up, ideally. And then they just have their weird little family. Mm-hmm. And that's and the door opens and somebody's singing Christmas carols. So that very well could be.
Right.
But it's the kind of thing that, for all I know, she's going to walk through and she's going to be wind up in some creepy spot where there's a radio playing Christmas carols and the radio's like, New York 1930, come on in, it's crazy here, tickets for one, another fucking spot in Feddick.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know. I figure we find out. I don't think that just gets left up in the air. Because King really can't resist, right? He has to tell us.
I mean, but, I wouldn't know.
Yeah, all right.
I mean, Roland is trying to convince her that it's a trap. Which...
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that he's serious about that.
No.
I think he just wants it to, do something that would convince her in a rational way to keep her from leaving.
It could be a trick, he said, most certainly reading her mind. Life is a trick, love a glamour, she replied. Perhaps we'll meet again in the clearing at the end of the path. And she does not fucking look back. I love it so much.
Yeah.
She's just like, you think I'm not going to do it, don't you?
Yeah, there's something about that it feels like in the end, she just gets to give Roland the finger a little bit.
Yeah.
Which is very satisfying, Yeah.
Also a kiss. Gives her a kiss. She gives Patrick a kiss, too. She's kissing everybody this week.
What a hoe, am I right?
Oh, no.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and after that, So now it's just Roland, Oy, and Patrick. Oy's not eaten.
Oy's giving up.
Mordred...
Like, he's gonna do this last thing, and then he's gonna be done.
Excuse me. Mordred's still around somewhere, and the tower is singing in Roland's head, telling him to come forward, to come to the tower, to come, Kamala.
Guys, I'm tired.
It's been a long series.
I just want it to be over. And I don't even mean like the book. Honestly, I would almost prefer that the tower came earlier and that there were a bunch of chapters after that. But the way this book is structured, clearly, like, the tower is really the end.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like to me. I might be wrong. And I'm almost like more interested in what happens after, just because I have an idea in my head that the tower really is a very literal thing, and that's the way it's being treated by everyone who talks about it. And that might be wrong, like, which would be kind of awesome if it was, like, and everybody was talking about it in that way and setting Roland up to expect that, and then it turns out to be a completely different thing than everything he had in mind and all of his visions and dreams and the photos and everything. But that my question is really like, what? Well, then what?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, dealing with that after. And that I find more interesting because I guess I'm kind of like a tiny bit of a nihilist. It's kind of a Westworldy thing, actually. The idea of like searching for something and getting it and not knowing what to do with it.
Huh. So for you, it definitely wouldn't be enough to just end the book on Roland finding the tower.
If that's the end, I will be let down.
Mm-hmm.
If it's just he got to the balcony and punched the king in the face. He flew off the side and cracked his neck, and then Roland ascended to the top and stood and surveyed the land. End of book. I'd be like, really? What's that mean? What is that? Like, honestly, my ideal ending, if we're going to end at the tower, is Roland gets to the top and then, like, basically spontaneously combusts because the power of the tower is way more than a human body's built to handle, and he just dies. That'd be pretty rad.
All right.
If that's, like, what we're going to do, if we're going to do the tower for real, let's make it so that it kills him. I'm behind that. I'll be good with that. I'd prefer that.
Okay.
Because, like, him getting there and just being able to saunter around like he's in a fucking apartment building really undermines what the tower is supposed to mean. Like, it's already undermined by the fact that there's a dude chilling on a balcony. Let's be honest.
Yeah, yes.
You know, so I'm already feeling some kind of way about this tower idea. But if that's how we want to end, it needs to be, like, either Roland has to die, or he, like, combines his power of his like, sheer will with the tower and, like, channels it to kill the Red King, or something like that.
Dies in the attempt, maybe. Something
yeah,
like that.
You know, sacrifice.
Yeah.
Everybody's sacrificed but Roland.
Right.
So let him do it, finally.
Yeah.
Because one could say, like, Susan was a sacrifice. No, that doesn't count. That was not in pursuit of the tower. He would have just stayed there if he could.
I do like, by the way, that Susannah got out. Like, whatever it is that's happening with her, which I certainly don't know about. I like that one of them, you know, that like one of them between her, Eddie, and Jake didn't die and actually got to bail. You know, got to make a choice.
Right.
I appreciate that.
I think that's part of my, like, frustration is that I get, like, King not killing her. I'm like, yeah, that was a good call, dude, but
right.
Why'd you have to do it this way? Because you couldn't even let me, like, just enjoy that she got out. You had to make it be this weird thing.
I can think of about a dozen different ways you could have made the scene, like, more exciting and make more sense, and not just be this weird, like, okay, we've all come to a decision now.
Right, yeah.
Like, I'm leaving, and I'm gonna go through the door, because that guy has magic powers. So, you know, it'd be like, if she got in a fight with something, and, like, there was a door, and they rolled through it, or, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a million different ways to do it, aside from by committee.
Right. Yeah. Agreed.
So, yeah, but, well, you know, we're almost done here. We got we got 4 more chapters of this book, and, that we're gonna read. I think we're gonna cover this book in 4 more weeks. Yeah, because next week we're gonna do, Mordred is the name of the chapter.
Right.
The name of the chapter is actually Mordred, parentheses, but nobody cares. And, so 4 more recordings for this book, and then I am pleased to officially announce that I have finished The Wind Through the Keyhole. I actually ended up enjoying it very much, and I think that we should cover that, as I've mentioned to Natasha off air, in 4 episodes as well. So,
because the book's divided into, like, 4 sections, you said, right?
Basically, yeah. There's one that's going to be longer than the others. But, yeah, basically it's 4 sections.
Okay. Works for me.
If you guys are in the spoiler chat that I'm in on Facebook, or if you want to hit me up on social media, if you think there's a better way of covering Wind Through the Keyhole, I think we don't want to do it chapter by chapter, especially because Wind Through the Keyhole doesn't really have chapters. So there's basically, like, the names of the sections of the book. There are really 4 of them. There's kind of 5, but the last one is crazy short. So, like, that can be folded in with number 4. But if anyone thinks that's a bad idea, let me know. I'm definitely willing to consider other options, but I really think that's the best way to do it. I think 4 recordings allows us to give the book its due without taking forever getting through it and analyzing every little thing.
Okay.
So I don't think there's that much there, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot there, but not that much.
All right, well, that seems reasonable to me. Interesting. I'm very curious about this. Like, there are just, like I said, so many directions that this can go in towards the end, because King has clearly just kind of thrown caution to the wind at this point.
Yeah.
So I really, like, while I am frustrated and I'm just like, oh my God, can we just get this done? I also just really am powerfully curious.
Well, you know, it's funny. So I was reading this chapter, and it made me think again, like I said, about the ending. And I've said multiple times on this show that I really don't like this book, but I really love the way the book ends. Mm-hmm. And, you know, reading this chapter again made me really think about that. Like, wait, do I really like it? Is it really good? You know, I think so. I'm really curious to see what'll happen when I read it again, and when you read it, I really want to do, you know, as I've said, a live read of the final chapter.
Right.
But I gotta say, I was wavering a little bit today. While reading this chapter again, I was like, well, the ending, maybe. So, we'll see. I don't know. I'm not sure right now, guys. It was funny, though, because right at that moment, Sharon came home, and she walks in, and she's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, nothing. I'm fine. She says, you have a really weird look on your face. And then she saw that I was reading the Dark Tower, and she was like, something from that book's bothering you, isn't it? I'm like, yeah.
Do you know that's weird? Because I was like I said, I read this chapter yesterday, and I was reading and apparently had a look, because Owen was getting ready for work, and usually when he's getting ready, like, nothing can swerve him from his focus of just getting done and out the door. And he walked into the bedroom, because I was laying in bed reading, and he stopped and went, what? And I was like, what? And he's like, you look mad about something. And I was like, oh, yeah, I know. I was just like, but Yeah, so apparently you and I both have kind of a, like, angry expression on our face when we read these.
Resting angry at Stephen King face.
Right? Yeah. Resting Dark Tower face.
Oh, boy. It's like, what's the... Never mind.
That's good. Good stuff.
There's a term that's just completely gone from my mind right now. And it's something face, and it's not bitch face. But I don't know what it is, so let's move on.
Wow, alright, you heard it here first, folks. I don't know what it was, but you heard it here first.
No, I don't know what it was either. That's the whole point.
So, alright, I'm going to say hi to new patrons real quick. This week we have Kristen Kujda and Jose Urena. Welcome to both of you. Make sure to join the patrons only Facebook group. One of you joined at the $20 level, which rad, high five, thank you, and hope you enjoy that unsober shit because that was fun to do. This week's episode of Unsober was about ice cream, and Rashawn and I ate ice cream on the air and drank, and there were some weird ice cream facts. And let's just say I found out about a thing called the Glasgow Ice Cream Wars, in which ended with a dude supergluing himself to the railing outside of Buckingham Palace.
I'm sorry, what now?
Want to know more? Become a $20 patron.
Damn it!
That shit was for real.
Damn it! Oh my god!
And it's a real thing, and it's awesome.
A podcast blue balls now.
Yeah, and I just recorded the first episode of Legion yesterday with Maggie, and that was weird as fuck. Have you watched this season? Did you watch last season?
I haven't finished it.
You haven't finished the last season?
No.
What is wrong with you?
I have shit that I'm doing.
It's like 8 episodes the first season. Guy, get on it.
Dude, I know. Trust me. If when I have time to watch TV on my own again, I'm telling you what I'm doing. I'm actually in the process of getting a spinner bike in my house because I need to get more exercise because it's affecting my mindset. So I'm getting the spinner bike, and every morning I'm gonna fucking put on a TV show, and I'm gonna bike in place on this machine while I watch it. And that is how I'm going to catch up with everything that I've been missing out on for the past, 5 years.
Alright, that seems fair.
So, give me time. I'll catch up with you. And I am going to be binging the fuck out of some old Unspoiled. I'll tell you that much right now.
Well, I thought, because the first season is incredibly weird, but you get to a point where the weirdness has patterns and really begins to make sense. It's not like, for example, David Lynch, where nothing seems to mean anything after a while, and he's just doing weird shit. But the second season started, and I really thought it was gonna be more of the same weird shit. And that is not the case. It is totally different weird shit, and I feel like completely off my footing again. I just wasn't ready for how weird either, because the first season is strange, but in a sort of okay, I'm understanding what you're doing with this, and there's a lot of Hannibal in it, if you've watched that show, where you're not sure what's real and what's not, and is he dreaming, is this but this second season so far, I think everything that's happening is real, except for 2 things, and the things that are actually happening are far fucking weirder than the things that I think are dreams. So, I don't even know. And there's a scene where there's hundreds of people standing still in a room with their teeth chattering. And hundreds of people's teeth chattering is the worst sound that's ever been recorded by man. And I never want to hear it again. And I have a feeling I'm going to hear it a lot more. So, that's a shame. But it was a really good episode. It was just strange, and I am so curious, if you guys listen to this show, what you think of my interpretations of things, because I got nothing at this point. I'm just so lost.
All right, well,
so
just keep in mind, look forward to a year from now, when I'm going to be like, Natasha, the chattering!
I'm gonna make you a fucking list. You're gonna watch this, watch this, watch this. Don't watch that.
You fucking should. Honestly, you should. I would be really down for you to do that because I need a guide here.
I'll be like, here's the serious stuff that you need to pay attention. Here's the shit you can put on in the background and do other stuff. Right. Here's the stuff that you watch as a palate cleanser after the serious stuff because holy shit is that dark.
Oh my god, will you make me an Excel spreadsheet?
You know what? I should load that on the fucking website.
Oh, I would probably pay you money for that.
All right, sir, you take it away. What do you got?
All right. Well, I was hoping to have something brand new to promote by the time we recorded this. Unfortunately, it's not yet come out, so I can't promote it just yet.
Boo.
But next week, for sure, assuming that I'm right and this is not further delayed. Anyway, you can find all my stuff at www.mjschneiderman.com. That's MJSCHNEIDERMAN.com. And if you don't find it there, there's links to wherever it happens to be. That includes the Smash Fiction podcast, which just came out with a new episode this past Sunday, which was Toy Story versus Small Soldiers.
Cool.
So, I like it. Yeah, that was a really good one, and I've been off the show. I've been off editing duties on the show for a while, and that was the first one that I really came back and got to dig my teeth into editing-wise. It was really fun to edit. I really enjoyed it. It's a very good episode, so check that out. If for no other reason than there's just lots of fucking action figure puns and just random references to Tommy Lee Jones and Tom Hanks, and so it's,
nice.
It's brilliant. Also check out the Odyssey Storytelling Podcast, which comes out every Friday. That's the show that I host and produce. It's based on a live show run by a local nonprofit here in Tucson, Arizona, and it is stories told from people's lives that are usually about 10 minutes long, except for the ones where we do like the just the recorded versions of the full live show. The most recent episode is from almost 3 years ago, actually, and it's on the subject of independence. So it's a really fun story. I get to pick these out and edit them and produce them, and it's just like one of the most fun things that I do, and I'm very lucky to be able to get to do it and earn money for it. So and then if you want to, you can go check out www.universesofthemind.com, which is the blog where I write about nothing, absolutely nothing. I write about I don't write at all there, actually. It's coming on, we're getting close to the year mark, I feel like, with nothing new on there. So, that'll change someday. Maybe once I reach the Dark Tower. But for now, it's not happening. I have too much to do. We're actually moving in about a month. And I think I mentioned this on the show before, but once this move is finished, I should have a lot more time to do stuff like that show. Nice. I'm sorry, not that show, but that blog. I should be able to return to it. So hopefully there'll be new content up there in about a month or so. Maybe a little bit longer, but it hopefully won't be too long. I feel like by the time we're starting to wrap up Dark Tower and jumping into Wind Through the Keyhole, I might be able to start plugging that blog with new content.
Miles.
Yep.
Don't make promises.
I said might. God, I feel like George R. R. Martin. I'm going to try to have the book done by 2014. It's like, oh my god, you unbelievable piece of shit.
Oh, man. Don't do it. Don't bring him into this. No, stop it.
What?
Okay.
What did I do?
Just bringing up George R. R. Martin.
Oh,
right
sorry.
Now.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you, Miles, sir, for being here.
Always a pleasure. Looking forward to next week.
Guys, please don't message me about Bill Denbrough. Don't do it. Just kidding, Jeremy. I love you. He's the one who messaged me. But it was so funny, too, because when he DM'd me about it, he phrased it in almost the identical way that I did in the blog post.
Wow.
I was like, So I saw it. It's Stuttering Bill, like Bill Denbrough from It. And she wrote to me, hey, get it? Stuttering Bill, like Bill Denbrough from It. And I was like, motherfucker.
Is he a nice dude in It?
Bill Denbrough?
Yeah, is he a good guy?
Yeah, he's like the guy.
All right.
He's sort of in charge in this weird way. And it's noted that it's interesting that he manages that despite his stutter, which would be cause for a lot of people to make fun of him.
Nice.
There's something about him that, like, commands a ton of respect. And pretty much nobody, like, makes fun of him for it.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah, it's an interesting little character thing that he did with him. I think It is a really interesting book. But that's, like... Yeah, I won't get into it, but
I feel like by the end of this, we're gonna have to talk about like favorite Dark Tower novels, and then just like favorite Stephen King period.
Yeah, and I'm curious because I'm covering I'm covering a Stephen King book for the book club, and I can't remember which one it is, but it's the one. Is it Man in the High Tower? I'm looking it up now.
Man in the High Castle is a Philip K. Dick book.
Is it High Castle?
No, that's Philip K. Dick.
Then that's not. Where is it? Oh, no, it's The Dead Zone.
Oh, The Dead Zone, right.
Yeah. So that I'm covering for September, and I have no idea if anything in that has anything to do with this book series. But I guess we shall see.
If we're going to do Stephen King, like, every year for the book club, then at some point we got to get Salem's Lot in there. And, like, The Shining, and, like, some of the really
Salem's
good ones.
Lot was in this list this year, but people didn't vote for it.
Yeah, well, y'all suck.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
There's something to be said about how bad democracy is. You know?
As we have daily reason to believe.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, thanks everybody on that great note.
That was the worst possible note to end on.
Love you.
The worst.
See you next week. Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.